In this segment, I'm going to take a look at the Select and Poly-Select tool, and they're found down here at the bottom of your workspace on the editing toolbar. This is Select, and this is Poly-Select. So before I can select something, I need to first have some objects. So I think I'll just take my Circle tool and digitize a couple of circles, and my Rectangle tool and digitize a couple of rectangles. So there we have 4 objects on our screen, and so now I'm going to go ahead and I'll choose the Select tool, and you'll notice right away that the last object that I created automatically became selected. Now if I want to select a different object, I can simply go ahead and just click on it to select it. Now you can tell what object is selected, and I'll just zoom in a little more closely, because the handles, the object that is selected will have handles around it, and also if you look quite closely you'll see that there's a small highlight color that goes around the object that you have selected. Now that's when Visualizers turned on, and I'm just going to zoom out and show you that if I turn Visualizer off, the object that is selected becomes completely highlighted, and so it's certainly much more easy to tell what object is selected when Visualizer is turned off. So that's the Select tool, and you can select an object by simply clicking on it. Another way you can select an object would be to left click and drag and create a box around the object. And in this case, only the objects that are fully inside of your selection box would get selected. So for example, if I select these 2 circles, they both become selected at the same time. But if I draw a box that includes these 2 circles, and it includes this rectangle, but it doesn't include the second rectangle at the bottom, it only includes part of that rectangle, then the second rectangle at the bottom is not selected. Only the objects that are fully enclosed within my selection box get selected. Now, when I have these objects selected, if I want to let go of them, I simply click off of the group on my workspace and it lets go. Another way you can select an object is to look at those objects in your sequence menu and just click on them in your sequence menu, and you'll see that it puts a blue box around the object that you have selected. It also shows you the object that's selected in the workspace. So I can easily click on an object to select it here. You can also use your keyboard to help select objects. So for example, I have this object selected. If I hold my Control key down, I could click on a second object and select both of them. And I can do the same thing on the resequence bar. If I hold my Control key down, I can click on objects to select them. You can also use the Shift tool. So for example, if I selected the first circle and wanted to select all 4, I could hold my Shift key on my keyboard and select on the second rectangle, and they would all be selected. So there's different ways to select objects, and there's a few more that I'll show when I talk later on about the traveling tools that are found up here and how you can use those to select objects by traveling through your design. But for now, those are the easy ways. Now, sometimes you want to select something that you can't just simply draw a box around. And that's what the Poly-Select tool is for. And basically, the Poly-Select tool just gives you the ability to draw the box that you'd like to have your selection inside of. And when you hit Enter, whatever's inside of, whatever you've surrounded with your Poly-Select tool becomes selected. So for example, if these 2, oops, I didn't mean to open up the object properties. If these 2 objects were overlapped like this, and so I was finding it maybe difficult to draw a selection box that didn't encompass, that only encompassed one or the other. It's not a great example, really. I think you'll find that when you get into, digitizing flowers in plants, and if you just wanted to select, just a specific flower, that this Poly-Select tool may be really helpful, because you'll be able to specifically draw a box around the part of the design that you want to select, and that's how it works. So that's the Select tool and the Poly-Select tool, and the way that you're able to select the parts of your designs.